Hello, we're here with Grandmaster Varuzhan Akobian, the top board for the 2012 United States Chess League champion Seattle Sluggers. This is FM Mike Klein reporting. Var, how are you tonight?
Good, Mike, thanks.
And where are we coming to you from? Are you in Seattle or in Kansas?
I'm in Kansas right now.
Okay, great. So I hope you had a good trip back. How is life in Kansas?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good here.
You've been making a lot of trips out to Seattle. I'm guessing you're amassing quite the number of frequent flyer miles by now.
Yeah, a lot of miles and a lot of flying, but I had to.
Do you have a favorite seat on the plane by now?
I usually prefer aisle seats.
There you go. Well, we were expecting quite a show on board one between you and Grandmaster Sergei Ehrenberg in the finals, but it petered out into a really uneventful draw. Were you surprised that Ehrenberg repeated moves when he did?
Well, I was a little bit surprised, but it wasn't as uneventful as it may appear. There are a lot of nuances that if you just glance through the game like really quickly, you probably wouldn't see any of this. But there are a lot of details. There was a lot of back and forth. There was something that I was trying to do that he was trying to prevent. So it's really, you have to analyze the position a little bit deeply and know a little bit about this opening in particular to understand what was going on, because I was spending a lot of time trying to decide which position I could go for, because some position I could have played c4 and closed the position. Sometimes I was thinking about playing on d4, so it was really kind of complex position. But the final position, I think, I didn't expect him to repeat, because at that time I didn't have that much time. I think I had about 2 minutes and he had a lot more time than me. He had maybe about 20 minutes. But the problem for him is just he doesn't have a really good plan in that position, and my plan is very simple. I just spend some time and just look at this sacrifices and all the ideas that he could have, and I realized that none of this work, and that's why I just played rook c7, rook f8, and the next move is just I'm going to go knight e7, knight f5, and he doesn't have any attack, and then I start rook c2, and I could win some pawns, and he could be in trouble, actually. I think he made the right decision. In fact, the final position I've analyzed, it's slightly better for black. If I had to play, then maybe I could even avoid a repetition. But for him, I think he made the right decision repeating, because he has maybe a little bit. At that time already, he didn't have that much time advantage. He had maybe about 5 or 6 minutes, and my plan is very easy. I just go knight e7, put the knight on f5, and he doesn't have any threats, and I just go rook c2 and start picking up the pawns on the queen side.
So you think he made the right decision, even given what his positions on his teammates' boards looked like?
Well, boards wide, it's a little bit hard to say, But on the other hand, if you don't have any idea in the position to play for a win, and just trying to pretend to play for a win and just probably get into a bad position, and maybe then trying to save the game, it was hard to say, Maybe everything happened quickly, so maybe he still realized that board two was winning. That's why he made that decision.
Right, it certainly looked like Fischer had good chances on board too until Orlov found that nice Queen E3 trick. Well, getting back to your game for a second, just want to ask you one or two more questions. I know you're very familiar with the nuances of the position. That's a pawn structure you know very well, but what made you choose the Caro instead of the French? I know Caro is your backup weapon, but why'd you choose it for the finals?
Well, I spent a lot of time trying to decide what to play against Sergey, because I just played him in April in Philadelphia tournament, and I played a French defense there, but we had this long theory, like maybe 20 moves, and we got into some position that it's objectively maybe very slightly better for white, but black should be able to make a draw, And in that game, he ended up getting a slightly better position, and then there was a repetition, and he ended up not repeating, trying to play for a win, and actually uh, got to a worse position. Then he blundered the piece, and then at some point I was already winning. Actually, it was kind of tricky, but I had a clear win in that game, and I didn't see it at the final second time control, and he managed to escape. But I didn't want to play the French, because the type of position would have probably occurred. It's just I don't have any winning chances. By playing Caro-Kann, I saw that he always plays e5, and then I can get some positions that are similar to the French structure, and there was chances for me too for a win. Again, if the situation was different and my team was losing, I could have maybe do something different, and instead of repeating, because there were some possibilities that I had also.
I see. Well, it turned out to be a good decision, of course. Now, with the United States Chess League Championship banner added to your title, you've become one of the most accomplished team players in United States history because you have these two Olympic medals to add to your credit also. But how different is it playing board one on a team versus playing board four on a team?
Yeah, it's very important. One more thing I wanted to add, Mike, that also won the silver medal in 2010 team championship in Bursa, Turkey.
My mistake. Good point.
Yeah, which is I think a very important accomplishment because we were playing that tournament without Gata Kamsky
Right.
against Armenia, Russia, and all the top teams. So yeah, I'm very happy with the results in the team tournaments, and still feel the pity about the Olympiad. And everybody probably know by now what happened. We were playing very well, but came short. But yeah, I'm happy to play on a team tournament, and whenever I'm qualified to play for a team, I take this very seriously, very responsible. And playing for the Seattle team was no difference. I mean, the circumstances were a little bit different this year because I wasn't in LA, and really traveling was very difficult because I live in a city, Topeka, which is about 70 miles away from Kansas City Airport. So I have to actually drive, park my car there, and then fly about 4 hours, play the game, and next day or after just fly back and do the same thing, drive back. So it was but since I played for the team and definitely wanted to support, and we were doing really well, and I would definitely play all the remaining matches. That was the plan.
Right. Well, that is quite an effort. And for those wanting to read more about your experience at the Olympiad, the December Chess Life was just put in the mail today. I just got mine today. So
yeah, I got mine too. It was an excellent article that describes how the tournament went, and yeah, it's a good experience.
oh, thank you. Well, you guys did all the hard work. I was drinking coffee the whole time. But well, have you ever played the? I mean, I guess the other two big team tournaments would be the Pan Ams and the U.S. Amateur. Have you ever played either of those team tournaments?
Well, actually, I will be playing in a Pan American tournament next month. And the first time I think in the history of this event, in over 40 years, the U.S. is going to be sending a team, and I'm honored to be part of that team and play. The reason we're going for this tournament is, of course, to try to win the title. But one thing is on our mind is to win the tournament to qualify to the World Team Championship, because in the Olympiad we tied for fourth and fifth, but we were fifth on a tiebreak, and only the first four team qualify to the World Team Championship later next year in Turkey. So basically, if we win this tournament in Brazil next month, we can qualify to the World Team.
Okay, so the result in the Olympiad did not qualify you. This is the other way of qualifying.
Unfortunately, no. There were some other things that didn't go in our favor, but at least we should have definitely qualified for the World Team. But again, sometimes when things go wrong, they go wrong in all directions.
Okay, well, good luck to you in that event. Now, getting back to the championship match, what did you think of the crazy Orlov Fischer game on board two, and also the speed of the players? Were you watching that game at all?
Well, I wasn't watching two in particular. First, my impression was that Orlov was actually much better after the opening. I wasn't sure about this idea that Will Fischer did c5, c4, and positionally it looks really bad, actually. I don't quite understand the idea of playing c5, c4, and then giving the knight outpost on d4 and creating the backward pawn on d5. But then I thought Orlov just, he was under the impression that it's just probably much better, and he could almost do anything and just overlooked all these tactics, take on g4, take on f4. But he could first of all start with g4, I think, instead of f4, and then this stops the f5 idea, and then continue with f4 and bishop g2. I'm not sure, because Will Fischer was playing very quickly. Maybe he analyzed this, but at least from just looking at the position, it looks really bad for black. Positionally, it looks very bad. But then he got the better position, and probably he missed a win at some point. But he was playing very quickly, and maybe he underestimated the queen exchange, which it's the only chance White has in this kind of position to be able to have this pass pawn threat on the queen side, because otherwise Black is just winning. So I think he played a little bit more carefully, he could have won that game.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, Orlov, eschewed about 5 queen trades and then actually, forced a queen trade, and then said that's I can understand mentally how you might overlook something like that. Well, getting on to board four, I understand that you're Roland Feng's coach. He played a positional gem to beat Richard Costigan. Did you teach him how to play like that?
Yeah, I mean, I taught him that opening, and actually, when we had a lesson we like a few days before the final, we looked at the games of Richard Costigan, and I saw that he plays the Slav exchange and plays this E6 line, and we kind of prepared this line. There's not so much to prepare there because White is just has a pleasant advantage there. I had a game like that against Kamsky in 2010 US Championship. It's just White is slightly better there, but Black has to play very accurately, because if Black doesn't play accurately, then he's going to be in big trouble. And I think, I don't know if I am Costigan was not familiar with it or just misplayed it somewhere, but he got into a really bad position. Probably the way Kamsky played against me is the most precise way to play in this position, because if the knight gets only 5, it's already bad. And I think Roland played an excellent game, and I'm very proud of him, and he did an excellent job.
Well, getting back to your season, you started out 3-0 in the regular season, but your playoffs got off to a rough start. You lost to Grandmaster Julio Sedora in the quarterfinals, and then you had arguably maybe a worse position against Mackenzie Mulder in the semis. Did those two games affect your thinking at all going into the finals?
No. It's just a little bit. It was a little bit different for me because the playoff. When I go to Seattle, I have my usual routine. We play from there with everybody. With the one match, I had to play from offsite in St. Louis, which was very convenient. But I don't think I kind of was in my usual routine in that particular game, and just things started to go wrong in the opening, and then I played slightly inaccurate, and then of course I had the move knight b8, which I should have played against Sadoro, and it's not so clear. I think that position. Maybe White is a little bit better, but it's just very complicated because he has to take on c5 and play down exchange. I don't know, but again, I was just against Sadoro. It was just like I had an off day. I just wasn't in my usual routine. When I played from Seattle, and I just kind of misplayed in the opening, and then found this idea, which is okay, and just should have played knight b8, and it's a normal game. And then just missed bishop h3, which was that's the only game I did. It was kind of a pity in the season. Against Moeller, it was against Moeller, it was very interesting opening, and he played Grunfeld out of nowhere. I just completely surprised me because he never played this opening before, and I decided to play very sharp because he played this line that former world champion Ponomarev played against me and some other 2,700 players, and I thought maybe he just wants to go for some drawish line there and try to make a draw, and I said okay, I will surprise him, and I played something very sharp, and I got a very promising position. But then at some point he just started to play like really strong moves, really incredible, like bishop f6, king g7, knight b6, c4, and it was just equal position, and I think the game objective was equal, and then I thought he was just gonna at some point just take on d5 and it's gonna be a draw, and then he just didn't do that. He just continued pressing, and then I played some inaccuracies, and he got the better position. But the problem was he had only 1 minute on the clock, and position was still complicated, and basically he made one mistake in the game, playing rook c6, queen e7, and had he played queen before, he has good winning chances. But with 1 minute on the clock, it's anything can happen at that point.
Yeah, your story about losing to Sedora while playing by yourself in St. Louis reminds me of when a basketball player goes to the free throw line for a technical foul and doesn't have anybody on the sides like he's used to. So I can understand why a different experience might.
I wasn't alone. I mean, the Archbishops were still playing that match. They were there too. It was kind of different than what I'm kind of used to.
I see. Well, you had no teammates there at least.
Yeah. So I mean, it was fine, but in general, of course, the site. I think I just had an off day, and I was teaching there, and I had a kind of off day, and but of course, Julio played an excellent game. I mean, he deserved to win.
Well, you have a pretty selfless team. I just got done interviewing Josh Sinanen, and he's the assistant manager, and he tried to sit himself for the finals. He tried to play Kurt Collier, and Kurt insisted that Josh play. Is this good for a team to be so selfish, or should somebody step up and say, I want to play in the finals?
Well, Seattle team, it's a very, very interesting team. It's a lot of very, very nice people, around the team. My good friend Eddie Chang and Josh Sinanen. It's a very, very nice people, and they it's not like it's not about eager to play. Just what's the best for the team. So I mean, but I think the decision of Josh playing, it was the right decision because Kurt had a great season, but I think he's more predictable in his openings, and I think it was the right decision. I wasn't really involved. I knew that I'm playing my game, and I wasn't really even aware of. I just found out from you that Josh was thinking of sitting, but I just do my job. But I think it was the right decision that he played because he had a good season, and he played a very good game. Actually, got a good position out of the opening, and press his opponent in position. Maybe his opponent could have drawn at some point, but it was just worse out of the opening. So if Black gets a good position out of the opening, then you can ask for more.
Yeah, when I think about your team, I think about you flying in each week. I think about Eddie Chang being the benefactor of the team. And then I look at the playoffs, and you had different heroes each week. In the quarters, Georgi Orlov and Peter Lesnar won. In the semis, you won along with Josh Sinanen. In the finals, Sinanen won again, but really the table was set by Roland Fang. I mean,
Yeah,
this is really like a complete team effort in the truest sense. Am I wrong?
absolutely. Well, this is very similar to when you see Armenia wins the Olympiad. They have some guy who's going to lose, but there is always some guy who's going to win for them, or maybe even two guys going to win. They still win the match. So you always have to be like this. If somebody loses, then the team is not breaking down and still playing. Like when I lost to Sadoro, I felt for a second, okay, it's probably over. But then the team is just played very well. In fact, we should have won the match, I think 3-1. Because Josh Sinana missed just D2 easy win in that game also at the end. But it's very important that if we have a team that anyone can win. So I won in some match. Josh won the final match. Roland came in after the World Youth and won. So it's really a team effort.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch, and I'm glad you've got. We don't give out gold medals in the USCL, but with all your bronzes and silvers, I'm glad that you won a championship. We wish you well in the world and in the world team qualifying, and we hope to see you back in the U.S. Chess League next season. I know it'll be a big effort traveling from Kansas, but we want to congratulate again the Seattle Sluggers and Varuzhan Akobian, the top ward for the team. Thanks again for spending the time with us.
Thank you, Mike.
Before we go, we want to thank our sponsors, PokerStars, the ICC, and Chess.com.